The bucket of dirty water hit Kenneth hard across the chest. Water splashed all over his face, his shirt, his trousers, even his shoes. For 1 second, the whole car wash became quiet. The mechanic stopped moving. The women selling food nearby turned. Even 2 boys walking past the road stopped to look. Kenneth just stood there, wet, breathing slowly, trying to understand what just happened. Gloria dropped the empty bucket beside her. Her chest was rising fast. "You missed the spot," she snapped loudly, pointing at a small dirty mark near the back of her car. Kenneth looked at the tiny stain silently. Then he looked back at her. People were watching. Too many people. "Gloria," he said quietly, but she cut him off immediately. "Don't Gloria me," she shouted. "If you are going to do something, do it properly." Kenneth felt heat enter his face immediately. Not anger. Embarrassment. Pure embarrassment. One of the mechanics looked away awkwardly. Another one shook his head slowly under his breath. Kenneth forced himself to stay calm. "I said I would clean it," he replied quietly. But Gloria already grabbed her handbag angrily. "You always have excuses." She turned and entered her black Range Rover. Kenneth stood there silently while water dripped slowly from his clothes onto the ground. The engine started. Then the car drove away, leaving him there, wet, humiliated, and confused. My name is Patience. This is a story about a billionaire who humiliates her man to see if he truly loves her. She wanted to test him, but she didn't know the cost. Inside the car, Gloria tightened her fingers around the steering wheel. Her heart was beating hard. Too hard. The moment she drove out of the street, guilt entered her chest immediately. She could still see Kenneth's face in her head, the embarrassment in his eyes, the confusion. She swallowed hard. "What is wrong with me?" she whispered to herself. But almost immediately, another voice entered her mind. Campsey's voice. If he truly loves you, he will stay calm. Gloria exhaled slowly. That was the whole point. That was what this was about. Right. To know the truth before marriage. To know if Kenneth truly loved her. Or if he only loved the life she could give him. Still, pouring water on him in public had felt worse than she expected. Much worse. Kenneth entered the small office behind the car wash and removed his wet shirt quietly. His friend Emeka was already there waiting for him. Emeka stared at him for some seconds. Then he spoke. "Guy, what was that?" Kenneth stayed quiet. He grabbed another shirt from his bag and wore it slowly. Emeka looked angry already. In front of everybody, Kenneth sighed tiredly. "It's not that serious." Emeka almost laughed. "Not serious? She poured dirty water on you because of one small stain on the car." Kenneth sat down quietly. His head was already hurting. "She's just angry these days." Emeka folded his arms. "Then maybe you should ask yourself why." Kenneth rubbed his face slowly. That was the problem. He did not know why. A few months ago, Gloria was different. Very different. She used to smile more, talk softly to him, laugh with him over small things. Even when they argued, she never behaved like this. But recently everything changed. Now she got angry over every little thing. Everything became an insult. Everything became shouting. Sometimes Kenneth honestly felt like he was walking carefully around her, trying not to offend her by mistake. Emeka sat beside him. "Kenneth, listen to me." Kenneth looked up. "You sure you still want to marry this woman?" That question stayed in the air. Kenneth looked away immediately. Because the truth was he still loved her. Even now. And that was the confusing part. That evening, Kenneth returned to Gloria's mansion quietly. The security men opened the gate immediately. As he walked inside, he saw 2 maids arranging flowers near the entrance. One of them greeted him softly. "Good evening, sir." Kenneth smiled weakly. "Evening." The house was beautiful. Too beautiful sometimes. Everything inside looked expensive. The kind of place Kenneth never imagined he would live in when he was younger. But lately, the house no longer felt peaceful. It felt tense, like everybody inside was careful around Gloria. Kenneth entered the kitchen. A pile of plates waited inside the sink already. One of the maids immediately stood up. "Sir, I wanted to wash them." Kenneth shook his head. "It's okay. I'll do it." The maid looked uncomfortable. Everybody in the house knew Gloria had ordered Kenneth to wash her plates himself. Not because there were no maids. There were too many maids already. but Gloria specifically wanted him to do it. At first, Kenneth thought she was joking, until she started bringing more things. Her clothes, bed sheets, even her underwear. The first day she handed him the basket, Kenneth honestly thought she was playing around. But Gloria had looked completely serious. "If you love me, then do it," she had said. Kenneth remembered staring at her that day, confused. He still did not fully understand why she was behaving this way. As he washed the plates quietly, footsteps entered the kitchen. His younger sister, Chioma. The moment she saw him washing plates again, her face tightened immediately. Again, Kenneth continued washing silently. Chioma moved closer. "Brother, this is too much." Kenneth lowered his voice. "Leave it." "No," Chioma whispered angrily. "I am serious. This woman is treating us like trash because she has money." Kenneth looked around quickly to make sure no maid was close enough to hear. "Chioma, stop." But Chioma was already emotional. "Before, she was nice to us. Suddenly she changed." "Why?" Kenneth had no answer, because honestly he had been asking himself the same thing. Chioma looked hurt. "A woman that loves you will not embarrass you outside like that." Kenneth dropped one plate slowly into the sink. He stayed quiet for some seconds. Then finally he spoke. "Maybe she's stressed." Chioma almost laughed. "Stressed?" Kenneth looked tired already. "I don't know, Chioma." And that was the truth. He really did not know anymore. Later that night, Gloria entered the bedroom quietly. Kenneth was already sitting on the bed, pressing his phone slowly. The moment he saw her, he kept the phone aside. Silence filled the room. Gloria removed her earrings, slowly in front of the mirror. She wanted to say sorry. The words almost came out. But then she remembered Fiance again. Men can pretend for a very long time when money is involved. Her chest tightened again. Kenneth finally spoke. "Why are you behaving like this recently?" Gloria froze slightly. Kenneth looked at her carefully. "You were not like this before." Gloria forced herself to sound cold. "So now you are complaining?" Kenneth frowned immediately. "I'm trying to understand." "There is nothing to understand." Kenneth stood up slowly from the bed. "Gloria, if I offended you somehow, then tell me." His voice was calm. Too calm. That calmness irritated her because part of her feared it was fake. "What if this is just who I am?" she suddenly asked. Kenneth looked genuinely confused. "What do you mean?" "Maybe I was pretending before." Kenneth stared at her for some seconds. Then he shook his head slowly. "No." Gloria crossed her arms quickly. "You seem very sure." "Because I know you." That sentence touched her heart immediately. And she hated it, because deep down she wanted to believe him. But fear was already growing inside her too much. Fear of being used. Fear of becoming stupid because of love. Fear of waking up one day and realizing everybody warned her but she refused to listen. Kenneth stepped closer carefully. "Talk to me." Gloria looked away immediately. "I am tired. You have been angry for weeks now. And maybe you are the reason." The words came out louder than she expected. Kenneth went silent immediately. Gloria saw the hurt in his face. Real hurt, not fake. And suddenly guilt entered her chest again. But instead of calming down, she became more defensive. "I don't want stress tonight," she muttered. Kenneth looked at her for a long moment. Then finally he nodded slowly. "Okay." That "okay" somehow hurt her more than shouting would have. Kenneth picked up his pillow quietly. "I'll sleep in the guest room tonight." Gloria turned quickly. "You are serious?" Kenneth looked tired. "I don't think you want me here right now." Before Gloria could answer, he walked out quietly. The door closed softly behind him. And for the first time since starting the stupid test, Gloria suddenly felt afraid. Not afraid of losing money. Not afraid of betrayal. Afraid of losing him. The mansion felt strange after Kenneth slept in the guest room. Gloria woke up the next morning and stared at the empty side of the bed. For some seconds, she forgot everything. Then she remembered. The shouting. The argument. His tired face. She sat up slowly. Something inside her felt heavy. But before guilt could settle properly, her phone rang. "Fiance." Gloria answered. "Hello." "You sound dull," Fiance said. Gloria rubbed her forehead. "We argued yesterday." Fiance did not sound surprised. "And he slept in the guest room." There was silence. Then Fiance sighed. Gloria, stop feeling guilty. Gloria looked toward the window. I don't know anymore. About what? He keeps staying. Kamsi laughed softly. And you think that proves love? Gloria said nothing. Kamsi's voice became serious. Listen to me. Some men can endure anything if they see reward ahead. That sentence again. Reward. Money. Marriage. Lifestyle. Gloria hated how those words kept entering her head. You are engaged, Kamsi continued. This is the last chance to know the truth. Gloria remained quiet. Then Kamsi spoke again. I'll come over later. Kenneth left the guest room late that morning. He found Chioma already in the kitchen. She looked at him immediately. You didn't sleep in your room. Kenneth poured water into a glass. We argued. Chioma folded her arms. You two always argue now. Kenneth drank quietly. He looked tired, very tired. Chioma watched him. You still think this is stress? Kenneth said nothing. That silence answered enough. Chioma softened a little. Brother, she wasn't like this before. Kenneth nodded slowly. I know. So what changed? That question stayed hanging. Kenneth wished he had an answer. Because lately he no longer understood Gloria. One moment she looked cold and angry. The next moment she acted normal again. Sometimes she still held his hand. Sometimes she still leaned on him while watching television. And those moments confused him the most. Because they felt real. And if the love was still real, then why all this pain? That evening, Gloria acted different. Too different. She sat beside Kenneth in the sitting room and rested her head lightly against him. The television played softly. Chioma was upstairs. The maids moved around quietly. Kenneth looked surprised. You seem calm today. Gloria forced a small smile. I can't be calm. Kenneth looked at her. You can. She touched his arm gently. For one moment, she almost stopped everything. Almost. Because this was the man she wanted to marry. The man she once prayed for. The man who held her when she cried about business pressure. The man who treated her like Gloria and not like money. Her heart squeezed. Then Kamsi's words entered again. Fear now is better than regret later. Gloria leaned closer and kissed his cheek. Kenneth smiled faintly. That smile hurt her. Because she knew she was still pretending. And she hated pretending with him. Later that night, Kamsi arrived. She came carrying wine and her usual confidence. The three of them sat together downstairs for some time. Conversation moved slowly, but Gloria noticed something. Kamsi was paying too much attention to Kenneth. Too much smiling. Too much eye contact. At first, Gloria ignored it, until her phone rang. A business call. She stood up. I'll be back. Kamsi smiled. Take your time. Gloria left the room. The moment she disappeared upstairs, silence entered. Kenneth checked his phone. Then Kamsi moved closer. Too close. Kenneth noticed immediately. You work too hard, she said softly. Kenneth gave a polite smile. Work doesn't pay itself. She laughed. You are humble. Kenneth looked uncomfortable already. Kamsi, you know, she continued, lowering her voice. I don't like the way Gloria treats you. Kenneth stayed quiet. Honestly, she said, if I had a man like you, I would value him. Kenneth looked up slowly. Something about her tone felt wrong. He sat properly. I respect Gloria. Kamsi smiled. Even after everything? Kenneth's expression hardened slightly. She is my fiance. Kamsi reached and touched his hand. The movement was small, but Kenneth immediately removed his hand. Kamsi. Her smile faded. I was just talking. I think this conversation should stop. For a second, her face changed. Not anger, more like embarrassment. Then footsteps came from upstairs. Gloria returned. And instantly Kamsi smiled again like nothing happened. But Kenneth stayed quiet. Too quiet. And Gloria noticed. The test became worse after that. Much worse. Sometimes Gloria created anger from small things. Very small things. One afternoon, she found Kenneth folding laundry. A maid had already arranged most of the clothes. Kenneth simply helped. Gloria entered and frowned. I told you to wash these yourself. Kenneth looked confused. They are already clean. So now you ignore what I say. Kenneth sighed. I'm not ignoring you. Her voice rose immediately. Then why are the maids touching my clothes? The maid nearby became frightened. Kenneth quickly spoke. It's not her fault. Gloria threw the folded clothes back into the basket. Wash them again. The maid looked shocked. Kenneth looked at Gloria for some seconds, then quietly picked the basket. No argument, just silence. That silence annoyed her more than she expected. Another day, they attended a small dinner with friends. The atmosphere was calm at first. Then Kenneth interrupted her while she was talking. Not intentionally, just a normal correction. But Gloria suddenly became cold. So now you know more than me? People looked over. Kenneth frowned. I didn't mean, you always do this. The table became uncomfortable. Kenneth looked embarrassed. And deep inside, Gloria hated herself. Because she knew she was performing anger. Not feeling it, but stopping now felt difficult. Because if she stopped, then what if she never learned the truth? Later that week, Kenneth finally tried again. The house was quiet that evening. Rain tapped softly outside. Gloria sat in the bedroom applying cream to her hands. Kenneth entered. He looked serious. Not angry. Just tired. He sat beside her. We need to talk. Gloria already knew where this was going. I'm tired. This won't take long. She kept looking at her hands. Kenneth spoke carefully. I don't know what happened. Silence. But this isn't normal anymore. Gloria said nothing. You insult me. Still silence. You embarrass me. Her jaw tightened. And I keep asking myself what changed. She suddenly stood up. I don't want this conversation. Kenneth stood too. Please. Just tell me. That word. Please. It irritated her because it sounded weak. And weakness was exactly what Kamsi kept warning her about. So Gloria hardened herself. Maybe I just got tired of pretending. Kenneth looked hurt. You don't mean that. You think you know me? He stared at her. I thought I did. Her chest tightened again. But instead of calming down, she exploded. You keep acting like some innocent victim. Kenneth blinked. What? You heard me. His voice dropped. What did I do? And that question, that simple question, somehow made her more defensive. Maybe because she had no real answer. Stop questioning me. I'm trying to understand. Then suddenly she slapped him. The sound shocked both of them. Silence. Heavy silence. Kenneth froze. Gloria froze too. Her hand remained hanging slightly. For 1 second, she looked frightened by what she had done. But pride entered immediately. And pride is dangerous. Maybe next time you will listen. Kenneth touched his face slowly. Not dramatically. Just slowly. He looked more hurt than angry. Then Gloria slapped him again. This time harder. The room became painfully quiet. Kenneth looked at her for a long moment. Something inside him finally broke. Not with shouting. Not with violence. Just exhaustion. Pure exhaustion. He stepped back. And his voice changed. Still calm. But different. Okay. Gloria crossed her arms. Okay, what? Kenneth looked at her. I can't do this anymore. Her heart jumped. But she kept her face hard. So you are leaving because of 2 slaps. He laughed softly. A tired laugh. No. His eyes looked wet. I'm leaving because I don't know who you are anymore. The room went quiet. He continued. You weren't like this before. Gloria looked away. And maybe Chioma is right. That made her look back immediately. What did she say? Kenneth swallowed. That a woman who loves me shouldn't treat me like this. Something painful entered Gloria's chest. But she still refused to soften. So go then. The words came out cold. Too cold. Kenneth nodded slowly. I think we both need space. Then he walked toward the wardrobe. Gloria's pride told her not to stop him. So she stood there, watching, hurting, pretending not to care. Chioma came downstairs 30 minutes later and saw suitcases. Her eyes widened. Brother! Kenneth kept packing. We're leaving. Chioma stared. Then slowly she understood. Her eyes moved toward Gloria standing across the room. Nothing was said, but the pain in Chioma's face said enough. The maids watched quietly from a distance. Nobody spoke. Kenneth carried the bags toward the door. Before stepping outside, he stopped and looked at Gloria one last time. His voice was low. I still love you. Those words shook her. But right now, he continued, I don't think staying here is good for me. Gloria forced herself not to cry, so she folded her arms tighter. Do whatever you want. Kenneth nodded. Then he left. Chioma followed him. The gate closed behind them. and suddenly the mansion felt too big, too empty. Gloria stood alone in the sitting room, still pretending to be strong. But deep inside, fear had already started growing. The mansion became quiet after Kenneth left. Too quiet. At first, Gloria told herself he would come back after 1 or 2 days. Maybe after calming down. Maybe after missing her. Maybe after realizing he still loved her too much to stay away. But 2 days passed. Then 4. Then 1 week. Kenneth never came back. At night, Gloria would lie alone in the bed and stare at the empty side beside her. Sometimes she picked up her phone to call him, then dropped it again. Pride was still fighting inside her, but regret was already winning slowly. The worst part was the silence. No arguments. No footsteps from Kenneth in the kitchen. No soft knock on her office door asking if she had eaten. Nothing. One evening, Gloria entered the kitchen and saw one of the maids washing plates. For some reason, tears suddenly entered her eyes, because the sight reminded her of Kenneth standing there quietly every night. And for the first time, what she did started looking ugly to her. Really ugly. Kenneth and Chioma were staying inside Emika's small apartment. The place was not big, but it was peaceful. Kenneth spent most days quietly, sometimes helping Emika around, sometimes searching online for business ideas, sometimes just sitting silently. Chioma worried about him, because even though Kenneth was calmer now, he looked heartbroken. One afternoon, Emika sat beside him. "You still love her?" Kenneth laughed weakly. "What kind of question is that?" Emika shrugged. "You can love somebody and still know they are not good for you." Kenneth looked down quietly. That sentence stayed in his head, because honestly, he did not know what to believe anymore. Meanwhile, Kamsi slowly became closer to Kenneth. At first it looked innocent. Phone calls, checking up on him, sending food sometimes, telling him she was sorry for how Gloria behaved. Kenneth appreciated the kindness, especially because his mind was already tired. One afternoon, Kamsi called him. "I want to help you." Kenneth frowned slightly. "Help me how?" "You said you wanted to start your own car detailing business someday." Kenneth stayed quiet, because yes, that had always been his dream. A proper car care business, not just washing cars for another person forever. Kamsi continued softly. "You are hardworking, Kenneth. You deserve better." Nobody had spoken to him like that in weeks, and honestly it touched him a little. Days later, Kenneth arrived at Kamsi's mansion. The house was luxurious, almost as big as Gloria's. A maid opened the gate and led him inside. Kamsi welcomed him warmly. She looked simple that afternoon. Nothing dramatic, just soft perfume and a calm smile. "I cooked myself," she said proudly. Kenneth smiled faintly. "You didn't have to stress yourself." "I wanted to." They ate together, and for the first time in many days, Kenneth relaxed a little. Not because he liked Kamsi that way, but because she made things feel calm. No insults, no shouting, no embarrassment, just peace. After eating, they sat in the living room and talked. Kamsi asked him questions about the kind of business he wanted. Kenneth explained everything carefully. The kind of equipment he needed, the kind of shop he hoped to rent one day, the kind of services he wanted to offer. Kamsi listened closely, then she smiled. "I like how you think." Kenneth looked embarrassed slightly. Kamsi picked up her phone. A few seconds later, Kenneth's phone vibrated. He checked it. His eyes widened immediately. Kamsi! She had sent him a large amount of money, enough to start something small. Kenneth looked shocked. "This is too much." "It's not a loan," she said softly. "Think of it as support." Kenneth looked overwhelmed. Honestly, nobody had ever helped him like that before. He swallowed slowly. "Thank you." Kamsi smiled gently. "You deserve good things too." After some time, Kamsi stood up. "I'll be back. Let me change quickly, then I'll drop you." Kenneth nodded. He sat quietly inside the living room, checking the business ideas again on his phone. A few minutes later, footsteps entered the room. Kenneth looked up, then froze slightly. Kamsi looked very different now. Her clothes were much more revealing. Not completely naked, but enough. Too much for a normal friendly moment. Kenneth immediately became uncomfortable. "Kamsi!" But she slowly walked closer. Very close. Her voice became softer. "You know," she said quietly, I always wondered why Gloria got someone like you. Kenneth stood up immediately. I think I should go. But Kamsi touched his arm gently. You deserve someone that respects you. Kenneth moved slightly away. Kamsi, don't do this. Her eyes stayed on him. What if I actually care about you? Kenneth looked confused and uncomfortable at the same time, because now everything was starting to make sense. The calls, the kindness, the support. Slowly, Kenneth stepped back. I love Gloria. Kamsi gave a small bitter smile. Even after everything she did? Kenneth opened his mouth, but no words came out immediately, because the truth was painful. Yes, he still loved Gloria, even after everything. Kamsi moved closer again. Her hand touched his chest lightly. Kenneth closed his eyes briefly, not because he wanted her, but because he was tired, emotionally tired. Heartbroken people are vulnerable, and for one dangerous moment he almost gave in. Almost. But then Kenneth stepped back quickly. No. Kamsi frowned. No. Kenneth shook his head firmly now. This is wrong. Kamsi's face hardened slightly. Wrong. After the way she treated you. Kenneth grabbed his phone immediately. I need to leave. But Kamsi suddenly held his arm again. And that was when another voice entered the room. Leave him. Both of them froze. Kenneth turned immediately. Gloria stood near the entrance. Her eyes were red, not from makeup, from crying. Nobody even knew how long she had been standing there. But from the look on her face, long enough, very long enough. Kamsi quickly removed her hand from Kenneth. Gloria, so this was your plan? Gloria asked. Her voice was shaking badly. Kamsi stood up immediately. You don't understand. I understand perfectly. Gloria looked completely heartbroken. Not just angry, heartbroken. She looked at Kenneth, then back at Kamsi. My own best friend. Kamsi became defensive immediately. I was trying to help him because you treated him badly. Gloria laughed painfully. Help him. Tears entered her eyes again. You kept poisoning my mind against him because you wanted him for yourself. Kamsi looked frustrated now. Gloria, listen, no. The shout shocked the room. Gloria pointed at her angrily. You made me destroy my relationship. Kamsi folded her arms. You destroyed it yourself. Silence. Painful silence. Because deep down, that part was true too. Gloria looked at Kenneth again, and seeing him standing there hurt her even more. Because despite everything, he still did not betray her. Even now, Kenneth finally spoke quietly. I didn't know she was doing this. Gloria nodded slowly. I know. Her voice broke at the end, and suddenly all the guilt she had been holding inside finally exploded. She covered her mouth and started crying. Real crying, not quiet tears. Painful crying. I messed everything up, she whispered. Kenneth stared at her silently. His chest hurt watching her cry, because no matter how damaged things became, he still loved her too. That night, Gloria drove to Emika's apartment. Kenneth opened the door slowly. The moment Gloria saw him properly again, she almost cried immediately. Kenneth looked surprised. Gloria! She entered before losing courage. Chioma was inside the sitting room too. The atmosphere became awkward immediately. Gloria looked at Kenneth with red eyes. I'm sorry. Kenneth stayed quiet. I am really sorry. Her voice was shaking badly now. I listened to wrong advice. Kenneth looked away slowly. Gloria continued crying softly. I was scared. Silence. I thought maybe you were with me because of money. Kenneth swallowed painfully. And instead of talking to you like a normal person, Gloria whispered, I hurt you. Chioma looked down quietly. Because this was the first time Gloria truly sounded broken. Gloria stepped closer. I saw what Kamsi was trying to do. Kenneth nodded once. I didn't touch her. I know. More tears rolled down Gloria's face. I know. The room became quiet again. Then Gloria finally whispered the thing she had been carrying for weeks. Please come back. Kenneth closed his eyes briefly, because hearing those words hurt him more than he expected. Not because he hated her, but because he still loved her too much. And that was the problem. Kenneth looked at her carefully. His voice was calm. I still love you. Gloria cried harder immediately. But I need time. Her face fell slowly. Kenneth continued softly. What happened between us was not small. Gloria nodded weakly. I know. Kenneth looked tired. I need time to think. Gloria wiped her tears slowly. And the marriage? Kenneth stayed silent for some seconds, then finally answered, I don't know yet. The moment those words left his mouth, Gloria shook her head immediately. No. Her voice cracked badly. No, Kenneth, please don't say that. Kenneth looked at her quietly. Gloria moved closer quickly and held his hand tightly. Please, please don't do this to me. Tears were falling heavily from her eyes now. I know I messed up. I know it. I know I hurt you. Kenneth swallowed slowly. But please don't end us because of this. Chioma looked away, quietly from the sitting room. The pain in Gloria's voice was too real. Gloria held Kenneth's hand tighter. I love you. Kenneth closed his eyes briefly. I love you too. Then come back home, she cried immediately. Please, please come back home. Kenneth looked exhausted. Gloria, I was stupid, she cried. I listened to nonsense. I let fear enter my head. I let somebody manipulate me against the man I love. Her shoulders were shaking badly now. I swear to you it will never happen again. Kenneth looked down silently, because part of him wanted to believe her immediately, but another part of him was still hurt, still tired, still confused. Gloria stepped even closer. You think I slept peacefully after you left? She asked painfully. You think I was happy in that house? More tears rolled down her face. The house became empty without you. Kenneth's chest tightened. Gloria looked desperate now. Not proud, not strong, just desperate. I kept waiting for you to come back. Her voice became smaller. Every day. Kenneth looked away because hearing that hurt him deeply. Gloria continued crying softly. I know saying sorry is not enough. Silence. I know. Then she suddenly held his shirt weakly. But don't leave me like this. Kenneth breathed out slowly. Gloria! I can change, she whispered quickly. I will change. Chioma looked at Kenneth carefully, because she could see the struggle in his face already. Kenneth still loved this woman deeply. That was obvious. But love and pain were now mixed together. Gloria's voice trembled again. I was preparing for our wedding while destroying the person I wanted to marry. That sentence hit Kenneth hard, very hard. Gloria lowered her head and cried openly. I hate myself for what I did to you. Kenneth quickly held her shoulders. Don't say that. But it's true, she cried. I treated you like you were beneath me. Kenneth stayed quiet, because hearing her finally admit it made everything feel heavier. Gloria looked into his eyes desperately. Please, just come back with me tonight. Kenneth looked torn apart inside. He wanted peace. He wanted space. But seeing her like this was breaking him too. After some seconds, Kenneth finally spoke softly. I can't come back yet. Gloria's face broke immediately again. But listen to me, he continued quickly. It doesn't mean I stopped loving you. Fresh tears rolled down her face. Kenneth held her carefully. I just need time to breathe. Gloria shook her head weakly. How much time? I don't know. That answer hurt her badly. Gloria buried her face against his chest and cried harder. And Kenneth stood there holding her quietly, looking just as heartbroken as she was. Thank you for watching this story. If you were in Kenneth's position, would you forgive Gloria and go back to her? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more narrated stories.